I'm Louise Fletcher and I help artists find their own unique creative voice. One of the questions that I get most often is, how do I loosen up? I'm often told, oh, I love how free you are with paint and that you just don't seem to care. You seem to cover things up and try things out and you're not afraid. And mostly that's true. I'm not afraid. But it's always a little bit daunting for anyone, especially if you've got something you kind of quite like and you're not sure about covering it up. Why is that true? I don't know. To some extent, I've always been quite a leap before you think kind of a person. I'm not risk averse and I will try things. But there's also, I think, a couple of things at play here. One is knowledge. So one is a knowledge that, for example, on this painting behind me, if I put pink near green, the two are going to make each other look better. If I contrast a warm colour with a cool colour, the two are going to look better. If I create light and dark contrast, that's going to be strong. These things are things that can be taught, right? Those are simple composition, colour, mark making, applying your materials, like working with your materials. Those are all things that can be taught, either with taking a class with a teacher like me, or watching YouTube, or going to an in-person workshop. But knowledge is important. You can't be free and loose if you haven't learned those basics. And that's often the problem. Someone will start painting and they think, I should be able to do this. It should be a natural talent. And if I can't do it, it means I don't have the natural talent. Nonsense. It just means you haven't learned the simple facts of life that you need in terms of how colours work, how tonal values work, how composition works. So number one is knowledge. If you haven't really studied or worked, I don't mean formally at art school, but I just mean worked on these things, then that will be part of your problem. But let's say you know those things, but you find yourself very tight and constrained working on your paintings. The second problem is this: you are attaching too much of yourself to your work. So you are fearing being judged for what you're doing. You think if it's not really good, you're not worthwhile. And you learned this from someone, right? You learned this in your past as a child, probably, that if you're going to do something, it has to be excellent, or that it has to be, you have to produce something worthwhile. Maybe you think you have to be able to sell your paintings. Maybe you just need the external validation from other people. So you need people to say, oh, wow, you're so talented. And so you're frightened that if you branch out or do the thing you really want to do, people won't validate you, or worse, they will laugh at you, or they will say you don't have talent. And the thing about that is, people's opinions about you only matter to the extent you allow them to. I get negative comments about my artwork, about my videos, about my appearance, about my podcast, even about my newsletter. I get negative comments frequently. I also get lots and lots of lovely positive comments. I try not to pay attention to either of them very much. The positive comments can throw you off just as much as the negative ones. If everybody under this video said, oh my God, that's the best video you ever made, please make more like that, I would suddenly be frozen going, what is it I did? But the negative ones literally go off my back. Like, there will be someone who will say, anyone can do this. There'll be someone who say, oh, abstract painting is all being done before you're just copying other people. Or there's no point in painting. Or there's no point in just making pretty abstracts. You have to have a political point. Or you can't draw, so you do this. Now, I could go to the trouble of saying, actually, I can draw, and here's a picture of a drawing that I did, just to prove to you that I can draw. Or I can say, I never said I was original, or that I was the first person to think of abstract painting. Or I can just go, You know, you cannot, nobody can please everyone. I think about someone like, think about the very best sports person in the sport you love. Does everyone who's a fan of that sport love them? Think about Taylor Swift, probably the biggest pop star of my lifetime. Does everybody love Taylor Swift? No. You know, she just toured the entire world to record-breaking crowds everywhere she went. She is adored by billion, maybe, people. But there's another 6 billion who either have never heard of her or actively don't like her. I'm not being accurate with my numbers, but you get my drift. Nothing is ever loved by everyone. If it's your spouse's opinion you're worried about, or your best friend's opinion you're worried about, or your brother's opinion, do you agree with them about everything? Do you like all the same things as them? No, of course you don't. But you think when it comes to your art that they have to like it, otherwise your self-worth will be crushed. Who cares? They don't understand. So, but when you can separate yourself from caring about what other people think about you and only focus on what you think about you and only care whether you're doing your best with the things you were given, then you can properly judge. And if you say to me, and some of you will be thinking, yeah, but I'm my own worst critic. No, that's not you. That's not your voice in your head. When you were born, you were not self-critical. When you were a baby, you were not in your cot thinking, I'm a rubbish baby. See that baby over there? That baby's great. I'm terrible. You were not doing any of that. You were just, I'm me. I'm a baby. Look after me. Something happened between baby and now that put that voice into your head. It's not your voice. And you know how you know it's not you? You can listen to it. So it can't be you, because who's listening then? So when you realize it's not you, you can just turn down the dial, let it yammer on in the background, knowing it's never going to stop. It's never going to completely go away. It's always going to be there. But you see it for what it is. It's literally nonsense. When you sort out these two things, when you gain the knowledge that you need, if that's the issue, and you fix your mindset, you fix your outlook so that all that matters to you is what you think, what you're trying to do, what you're pursuing, what you're interested in, because making art is selfish in that way. This is yours. It's not for anyone else. When you fix those two things, then you can loosen up with pain. Until then, you will battle yourself. Until then, you are fighting against impossible odds. You cannot paint excitedly, freely, without caring until you truly don't care, and you can't do it until you know a little bit what you're doing. You don't have to be perfect, you don't have to be the world's greatest expert, you just need some basic knowledge. That's it for this video. I will be teaching my annual free course about how to see the world this way, about how to paint this way, coming up right at the end of August this year, if you're watching this video in 2025. So there's a link below this video. Pop your name into that form so that you can be notified when we're ready to get started. This is a completely free event. I've run it for years. This year's completely changing. It's going to be bigger and better than ever. I know for many people, times are tough financially right now, so I'm going to make the free course even more expensive and educational than it has been in the past. So I hope to see you there. In the meantime, think about what I said and which of these things is it that you need to work on in order to loosen up and be as free as you want to be. See you soon. Bye.